Welcome and thank you all for joining the Federal Fiscal Compliance and Reporting Division as we go over the IDEA-B LEA MOE prorating exceptions for SSAs. This presentation is specifically designed for fiscal agents and member districts in a Shared Services Arrangement, or SSA. Here is our standard disclaimer, which is a reminder that this presentation and slide deck reflect TEA's understanding of the federal laws and guidance related to IDEA-B LEA MOE. However, this guidance does not constitute legal advice, and so LEAs are advised to seek legal counsel regarding the information in this presentation before acting on such information and guidance. Our agenda today includes several topics. We will discuss IDEA-B LEA MOE Process, exceptions workbook submitted by member districts, prorating shared exceptions, member district upload to TEAL, GFFC reports and data collections application, process and timeline. For the IDEA-B LEA MOE process, the FFCR division posts preliminary compliance reviews, which LEAs should compare to their own calculation of MOE, which they've predetermined by gathering data sources and completing the calculation tool. Calculation tool can be found on the IDEA-B LEA MOE webpage. Once preliminary compliance reviews are available, non-compliant LEAs then submit their allowable exceptions. In the exceptions review process, LEAs submit the exceptions workbook, certification, and supporting documentation. After all exceptions have been reviewed and approved by TEA staff, the final IDEA-B LEA compliance reviews are issued. These final reviews factor in allowable, documented, approved exceptions and determine compliance with the IDEA-B LEA MOE requirement. Final reports are then posted in GFFC reports and data collections. SSA fiscal agents and members follow the standard exception workbook submission process with the option to prorate exceptions based on the percentage of expenditures incurred by each member. The exceptions possible to be shared and/or prorated with appropriate documentation are the following. Voluntary departure of personnel. This is the most common exception used to be shared and/or prorated. And long-term purchases. This exception is not commonly used. Fiscal agents and member districts submit the following 3 documents to GFFC reports and data collections. IDEA-B LEA MOE certification form, which is signed by the superintendent, IDEA-B LEA MOE exceptions workbook, supporting documentation to validate requested exception amounts. When submitting your exceptions, keep in mind that all exceptions follow the same concept. What happened in the previous year that did not happen in the current compliance year that caused a decrease in total state and local expenditures for special education services. Here's a visual of what the IDEA-B LEA MOE certification looks like. This certifies the exceptions submitted are complete, accurate, and supported by documentation. Fill out the entire form within the workbook, print, sign, scan, and upload into GFFC reports and data collections. The upload title in GFFC reports is IDEA-B LEA MOE certification. As mentioned before, voluntary departure is one of the exceptions used by SSA members with the option to prorate. Let's go over more about the details of voluntary departure exception. Who should claim this exception? LEAs that had employees working for the district in the previous year, who left the district voluntarily or were terminated for just cause, and who are not replaced in the current year or were replaced with an employee at a lesser salary, causing a decrease in total special education payroll for the LEA. All employees listed must be paid from Fund 199, 420, 437, and PIC 23, 33, 43. If part of an SSA, the fund code used is 437, which is shown on the financial reports. The employee's departure must be voluntary, resignation or retirement, or for just cause, documented misconduct. Keep in mind if an employee's contract was non-renewed or the employee was reassigned with the district, that employee cannot be claimed on this exception. What documentation is required for voluntary departure? The documentation is the same as independent LEAs. A year-to-date payroll distribution journal for all employees listed showing the employees were paid from Fund 199, 420, 437, and PIC 23, 33, 43 in the appropriate school year. In addition, documentation to support departure, such as resignation letter, retirement letter, or personnel action form. Additionally, for SSA member LEAs, include documentation to support the SSA prorating procedure and/or percentage, such as SSA agreement, meeting minutes, etc. Also, Submit documentation to support that the departing staff member served multiple LEAs in the SSA and provided services to the member LEA submitting the exception. We will go over some examples in the next few slides. In this example, 3 departing staff members were shared among 7 LEA members. The chart below shows percentage and amount of staff salaries paid by each member LEA, which equates to the portion each is entitled to claim as a voluntary departure personnel. In the next slide, we will show the payroll distribution journal that corresponds to total salaries listed in the second column. Here's a snippet of a summary payroll distribution journal for each departed employee under Fund 437 and PIC 23. The bracketed areas, which are also numbered, are the amounts under Fund 437 and PIC 23 that will be used to sum the total salary. In the second snippet, you will see the added amounts that correspond to the payroll distribution journal for each employee. The amounts are summed and are listed as a total salaries in the second column of the chart. For departed employee number 1, total salary amount of $14,461.20. Departed employee number 2, total salary amount of $17,644.10. And departed employee number 3, salary amount of $15,064.84. Now, how do the percentages come into play? Each LEA that is submitting the exception will use the percentage they contributed to the total salary. The chart shows the prorated amount by percentage for each member LEA. In this example, the yellow highlighted LEA's percentage is 10.13%. Therefore, this LEA can claim that percentage of the total salary amount listed for each departed employee, which is listed in the second column beside their names. Therefore, this yellow highlighted LEA will list in their exceptions workbook departed employee number 1 with the amount of $1,787.35, departed employee number 2 with the amount of $1,464.92, and departed employee number 3 with the amount of $1,526.07. As you can see, the yellow highlighted amounts match the amounts the member LEA listed in the exceptions workbook. We will now discuss a long-term purchase exception. Who should claim this exception? LEAs that had a capital outlay expenditure coded to Class Object Code 6600 in the previous year, which was not repeated in the current year, resulting in a decrease in total special education expenditures in the current year. There must be a capital outlay expenditure, such as an acquisition of equipment or construction of school facilities. Equipment means an article of non-expendable, tangible, personal property having a useful life of more than 1 year and an acquisition cost which equal or exceeds $5,000. Keep in mind to consider what was expended from Fund 199, 420, 437, and PIC 23, 33, 43 in the previous year that was not expended in the current year. Here's a snippet from the Exceptions Workbook for the Long-Term Purchase tab. Complete this section in its entirety by adding the description of long-term purchase, the date of purchase, and the previous year expenditures under Fund 199, 420, 437, and PIC 23, 33, 43. Supporting documentation must show the prorated portion paid by the member LEA from Fund 199, 420, 437, and PIC 23, 33, 43, which is the same for independent LEAs. Some examples of supporting documentation are General Ledger Excerpt, Purchase Receipt and/or Invoice, or any other support documentation from the LEA's financial accounting system to justify the requested amount. Supporting documentation unique to SSA member LEAs can be documentation to support the SSA prorating procedure and/or percentage. For example, SSA agreement, meeting minutes, etc. In addition, documentation to support the capital item was purchased by and served multiple LEAs in the SSA and provided services to the member LEA submitting the exception. A long-term purchase example is as follows. An SSA purchases a vehicle for special education transportation purposes. The vehicle is to be used by all member LEAs, and all member LEAs share the purchase cost equally. No such vehicles purchased the following year. If the vehicle cost $60,000 shared among 3 members, each member LEA could claim $20,000 for the long-term purchase exception. Once the IDEA-B LEA MOE Exceptions Workbook is complete and the LEA has compiled their supporting documentation for their exceptions, complete the following steps to submit your LEA's completed IDEA-B MOE documents. Log on to TEA, Login, TEAL, select GFFC Reports and Data Collections, select Upload Response Documents, select IDEA-B LEA MOE Certification, and/or IDEA-B LEA MOE Exceptions Workbook, and/or IDEA-B LEA MOE Support Documents from the Response Template Title pull-down menu. select Response Document from the Response Doc Type pull-down menu, select the respective compliance year from the School Year pull-down menu, and finally select Upload Document. This timeline consists of important dates which are a good cue for LEAs of when things are due. Early March, to the Administrator Address, TAA Heads-Up Letter will be posted to the TEA Correspondence webpage. In mid-late March, IDEA-B LEA MOE Preliminary Compliance Determinations will be available in GFFC reports and data collections. Early April, 10 business days after preliminary reports, is the deadline for LEAs to submit IDEA-B LEA MOE exception requests and/or PEMS errors. April and May, TEA will review LEA exception requests and PEMS errors, and in June, final compliance reviews will be posted in GFFC reports. Thank you for your time during this presentation. We are always happy to assist with any questions you may have. Please reach out to the compliance team with any additional questions at compliance@tea.texas.gov.